There was one circumstance in particular where somebody opened up, a facility that was from within our community and probably just went about it in the wrong way. I think I'm always open and willing to help people. So if any of our people came to us and said, Sean, I'm really keen to grow and spread my wings, I feel like I've got more to offer, or this opportunity's come up, then I would always nurture and help people in that sense. And there's been a number of examples of that. When it's a bit shady and behind the back and I find out through social media or through contacts, that hurt a little bit.
Hey guys, we'd like to thank our sponsor of today's episode, Funky Donkey Marketing. Is your sports club or organisation in need of some assistance with their digital marketing? Well, look no further than Funky Donkey Marketing. They're the sports marketing specialists in Adelaide. They offer a range of services that include content creation, style guides, sponsorship, consulting, podcasting, and administration support as well. Perfect for businesses that need some support for a few hours per week. If you need some help with your marketing, get in touch with Callum today on 0434 295 905. That's 0434 295 905, or send an email to funkydonkeymarketing@outlook.com. Funky Donkey Marketing, Adelaide Sports Marketing Specialists. Well, what a pleasure it is to have Sean Baker on Sports Legends with Bevo.
Thanks for having me, great man. I appreciate it. What a beautiful setup we have here today.
Oh, yeah, unbelievable, mate. I can't say how thankful I am to Rory, that's for sure, for this amazing setup. I think last time we actually did, speaking of amazing things, we did in your PEAQ Fitness location, Bakes, and we've got some very exciting news to share very, very soon. Yeah, perhaps we'll get back to your journey, though, with PEAQ, and it's at Port Adelaide where you are at the moment, and very soon you're going to be moving to another location just around the corner. But when it started, you and your partner Jamie, now wife, and you had a couple of kids and everything, you rock up there and it's just a completely empty building. And now what you've turned into is just like, it's out of this world. And again, we've got some more exciting news to share in a moment about what happened to you guys recently. But yeah, tell us a bit more about that PEAQ journey and when you first got to that building, and now sort of going fast forwarding to when you first started the business. Can you just believe how far it's come?
Yeah, no, honestly, if you'd said to me 6 years ago that we'd be doing what we're doing and what had been happening in the last few weeks had been happening to us, that I probably wouldn't believe you. We, as you said, we signed the lease on an empty shell, which at the time, probably I'm grateful that I was naive. I was just an S&C coach who at the time was at a bit of a crossroads, was looking to try to sustain myself, to try to provide a better opportunity for my family moving forward and future family. We had plans of having kids and all those sorts of things. I was very fortunate that I married my high school sweetheart and locked her down before she got too smart and realised, what am I doing with this spud over here? But I think that if I had realised, if somebody had told me beforehand that we would have worked our way through COVID, that you were going to have to navigate a number of different challenges along the journey, that maybe I might not have been brave enough to take the leap, to be honest with you. But no, very, very grateful for the journey over this last 5, almost 6 years now. We went from having no members, or maybe 20 foundation members, to now working our way towards 600 and hoping to double that at the new facility, which is super exciting. Very grateful to the community who's helped us to organically grow. I remember now, and it's hard to believe, I would sit there for hours on end at the front desk with nobody walking through the door. We had a very finite, we didn't open with 24/7 locks on the doors, so I'd have to be there with the key to open up at 5 or 6 in the morning. I'd come home for maybe an hour's nap in the middle of the day and then kick off again at 2 or 3 and be there again late at night. And I remember it again, very, very grateful for everybody who walked through our doors, but there were certainly times where maybe I'd been sitting there for hours and thinking, you know what, it's 7:45, I'm going to wrap up now. And then one member would walk through the door, so I'd sit at the front desk, just waiting to get to bed so I can do all it again the next morning. But yeah, it's been a journey, mate, and very grateful and excited for this next 6 to 8 weeks where we're taking some big steps, which is exciting.
Speaking of that, we were talking off air as well. Got some very exciting news. You'll be linking up with a man who a lot of people know from the sporting landscape, doing some really good things with the Adelaide Crows at the moment, with my team in the past, Port Adelaide as well. And that's Darren Burgess. And also Greg Stafford used to play for the Sydney Swans, that big tall ruckman as well. You're combining with both of them and collaborating. And tell us more about that and how exciting that is, Bates.
Yeah, well, Greg, if I wasn't already a little bit, I guess, sensitive about my height. And it makes it even worse because he's 200 centimeters and has hands the size of bloody shoeboxes. He's a massive human being. But yeah, super excited, really grateful. Again, it's one of those pinch myself moments. I guess to give you a quick little backstory on it, I was fortunate enough to do some development work and some part-time work at the Power in 2017, I think it was, 2018. And that was under the guidance of Ian McCowan because Burjo had just left the club. I remember being bright-eyed and bushy-tailed when I was told that I got the role and thought I was going to be working with Burjo. So I reached out and emailed him, and being the man who had watched on the recruit for a number of years and was sort of the forward-facing prominent figure for strength and conditioning in the country, if not the world. And then sort of almost at exactly the same time, he announced that he was heading over to the UK to go work in the Premier League. And I remember being a little bit flat about it because I thought, this is my opportunity to connect with him. But he was always super gracious and stayed in touch via email. So we struck up a bit of a relationship. And then that probably was solidified a little bit more when he circled back around, came to Melbourne. He was back obviously in Australia. And then when the news came he was coming to Adelaide, we really hit it off again. We're able, over a number of years, to put together a few courses for coaches that we did together. So we sort of put together a 6-week intensive course of what was best practice for high performance conditioning and those sorts of things. We'd run that on a weeknight together, which was exciting. And even that involvement together for me was pretty special and helped to solidify the credibility that I think I hold in high regard. I really love having credibility, even being in the private sector. It would have got to late last year, so let's say it would have been August last year, and I got a phone call from him saying that there'd been some circumstances, the stars had aligned, and what are my thoughts about taking, I guess, that relationship from a business perspective to the next level. And we spent the next period of time deciphering, what the valuation of the business looks like and all those sorts of things. And we have decided to take him and his business partner and good friend Greg Stafford, who he, I guess, connected with when he was in Sydney in the early parts of his career. And now we're business partners, which is super exciting. So this is obviously a pre-recorded show, so we're making the big announcement in a few days' time. Yesterday we caught up officially and had a bit of a celebration. It's obviously gather around here in Adelaide, so Greg's been down. Although they are going to be competitors tomorrow night against each other, it was a pretty calm atmosphere, which is nice. But pretty surreal to have those guys on board. I think they're going to add a huge level of credibility, as I talked about, accountability as well for myself. So we're going to continue to push the standards and set some KPIs for Jamie and myself.
Brilliant. Business
meetings will no longer just be us shouting over a couple of young kids at the dinner table now. We'll have to sit down a bit more formally and have some board meetings. But I think it's going to put us on the map, not only from an Australian perspective, but hopefully globally, which is exciting.
That is so good, and couldn't happen to a better bloke. And obviously, like you mentioned before, and just almost broke my heart hearing some of those stories. How at the start, having one person in and having to open up in crazy hours of the morning, and to see how far you've come as a mate, I'm so stoked for you.
Oh, thank you, mate. I appreciate it, and I think if nothing else, don't be upset about those stories. I think they provide me with great gratitude and great perspective. I think maybe sometimes, whether it is in the S&C world from a coaching perspective, or maybe it is within business, there are some young, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed practitioners or entrepreneurs coming through that think that you sort of just jump straight to the top. You've done your exercise science degree and you've done your master's degree, and all of a sudden you're going to be the next Burjo. But unfortunately, that couldn't be further from reality. There's a lot of hard work, a lot of free work, a lot of long hours, a lot of disappointments and all those sorts of things. But that builds character, and I think that only adds to the story and makes you appreciate where we are more. And I know that even where we are now, there's still a ton of hard work to go. But understanding what we've been through and what it's taken to get here, it just gives me a lot of confidence to say, hey, we've done it before, we can do it again.
And speaking of great news as well, whilst we're on that particular topic, just being named as Gym of the Year in South Australia. Again, congratulations, mate. That's sensational news. What was that, that when you found out that news, how did that feel, Bakes? And explain a bit more about how that all came about, the Gym of the Year thing. Did you have to apply, or how did it work?
2024 has been a pretty wild year already. We've just ticked into April, and it's been a couple of massive pieces of news. No, in terms of the process, I actually didn't even know that it was a thing, to be honest with you. I just sort of had seen. So generally what happens is the advertiser will ask for nominations, and that will come from the wider community, so that, they will post up some sort of post, and people will comment in their gym and the reason why they believe they should be nominated. What will generally happen, I think maybe it might have been the top 10 or top 15 nominations. Then, I don't know whether it's based on number of times they're mentioned in the comments or however they select them, but then you sort of get shortlisted. So we got shortlisted, and we got an email and a phone call to say sort of, congratulations. And then from there, it just sort of goes to a public vote. So those 15 gyms are able to be voted for over maybe a month period. And it was, I reckon it might have been a Friday afternoon. I got a phone call to say, hey, congratulations, you've received the most votes. And I was pretty taken aback, to be honest with you. I know there was some really great quality and some really good competition in there. I knew, I think I Perform with Brad Bain, who's a wonderful practitioner out there. I'll give him a shout out. He's a great guy and doing wonderful things out north. I know the V2 Fits were around the mark as well, and I know that they've got multiple locations. So I was sort of imagining that they would have a pretty strong backing behind them as well. But just again, super grateful and appreciative for our community that came out in droves and voted for us. So the next Monday we were down having a photo shoot, and we got our team down all together, and then from there, honestly, I wasn't sure how much people paid attention to a competition like that, but our inboxes were flooded afterwards, and lots of messages of support. So again, just overwhelmed. We will continue to appreciate it for as much as it's worth, and thank you to everybody who voted for us, mate. It's awesome.
Again, well deserved. And just shout out to Brad as well. I think he was named the Physio of the Year.
He was, yeah.
So he got some sort of a consolation prize there. So.
Yeah, no, great to see. He's a great practitioner, and I think it's always really important to recognise people that are doing great things in the industry.
Well said.
I know whether it's an Australian thing or an industry thing, I know sometimes there can be some tall poppy syndrome, and people are worried about if you pump somebody else up. What happens if I pump up Brad and then Bevo thinks, I'm going to go over there and I'm going to forget about Sean? I think it only shows that you have people's best intentions in mind if you're open to them going and getting lots of opinions and lots of different experiences and lots of training principles and lots of different facilities and all those bits and pieces, so that they can form their own opinions and figure out what's best for them. I'm a big believer in that. I don't like to just sort of hold people in and say you're never allowed to go anywhere else. Like, go and if what we're providing is good enough and is what works for you, then that's fantastic for sure.
Yeah, I love it, Bakes. That's why everyone loves you as well. So.
I appreciate it, mate. You're too kind. I'm just I like to refer to myself, I think, as a spud who tries hard and just have a crack at everything. I'm just very average at a lot of different things. But no.
Hey, you mentioned before, obviously, those challenges early on, and obviously we've had COVID as well. As we all know, we all go through challenges in life, and nothing's as easy. And as you mentioned before, you had to work so hard over the years to build the peak situation, and now obviously we're seeing those rewards that you richly deserve. But there's obviously challenges along the way as well. Explain some of those that you've been through and how you've overcome those as well, Bates.
Yeah, I think in the early stages, and I guess the challenges change as you become more mature as a business. So in the early stages, it was probably just logistics and understanding. I know I've probably told this story a few times. I'm not sure if I've said it on a podcast, but whether it's something as subtle, for example, as I remember our first weekend that we were open, I had all these back-to-back sessions lined up. And I remember I was just thinking to myself, how good is this? I've done it. I've made it. I'm a full-time S&C coach now, and we're smashing it. And we had this netball team come through, and we'd done the session, and everything worked perfectly. And I planned every repetition and every rest time and all that sort of stuff. And the coach comes up to me at the end and goes, "Oh, where's Emily?" I was like, "I'm not sure." But in my head, I was thinking, "Oh, who cares? She'll be right. This is amazing. How good is this?" And I realised Emily had gone to the bathroom and vomited all over the floor because we'd done a cardio set, and I forgot that we had no cleaning products at all, so I was on my hands and knees while all my clients are piling up outside, with water and paper towel and a fan, and had to send out a family member to go and get some, so it's those like subtle things at the start. And then, as you grow, your team grows and you start to, I guess, deal with trying to make peak about peak as opposed to peak about Sean. And I understand, and again, I'm grateful for the fact that there's always going to be a component that people come to peak because of maybe wanting to work alongside myself or or Jamie, which is awesome, and we'll always continue to keep my finger in the pie, and I will never become a faceless business owner. But the challenge of, now maybe if my books are packed, go over and work with one of our other coaches who has learnt under our strategies and systems and principles and has great energy and is highly accredited and maybe does some stuff better than I do. But, so starting to get people to understand that PEAQ is now a group of wider practitioners as opposed to just myself. And then, once you've got that team of people and you've got, people that are open to sort of going around, then I guess nurturing, personalities and looking after people. And there's a whole range of different scenarios that can rise from that, whether that's making sure you provide people with enough work and job security and enjoyment out of what they get, ensuring that what the makeup of their day is enjoyable, whether it's a bit of youth athletic development programming, is it a bit of admin here, do we have to do some cleaning here and there? And then also, we have had circumstances where people have maybe seen some of the end products of what Jamie and I have created and potentially thought they would like to get a slice of that pie and try to emulate it in sort of certain circumstances. I've certainly found that challenging in some aspects, but I have realised off the back of that with us putting our energy into what we're doing and making our people feel loved and cared for as more than sort of, accounted for that and alleviated any emotion and stress that sort of have come from those situations. I guess now we're seeing the rewards of that in 2024 with some of the bits and pieces that have been happening, which is exciting as well. So, but it's all part of it, certainly it's business ownership. If anybody tells you that business ownership is all smooth sailing, they're lying to your face or they're not doing it properly. But we're fortunate to be in this position, and I don't think you go into any work or any circumstance in life, family, or where there's where you're not going to face challenges. So it's just about deciphering what your heart is.
Yeah, well said. And it's interesting before what you're saying about those challenges, Bakes, and I've had situations where people have tried to like copy what I do and stuff, and I sort of at first got frustrated and but then talking to friends and stuff, they said, well, take it as a compliment, you know what I mean? And you've had a situation before where and you touched on it as well. I just wanted to ask you a bit more detail if you can, where people have like almost just not so much been jealous, but wanted to sort of copy something similar to what you've done. And can you elaborate a bit more on that as well?
Yeah. I guess there's probably, it's been something that I don't usually, address in public circumstances because, as I said before, it's usually something that we just sort of focus on our own energy, and we don't sort of try not to waste energy in other aspects. But yeah, certainly there was one circumstance in particular where somebody opened up a facility that was from within our community and probably just went about it in the wrong way. I think I'm always open and willing to help people. So if any of our people came to us and said, Sean, I'm really keen to grow and spread my wings, I feel like I've got more to offer, or this opportunity's come up, then I would always nurture and help people in that sense. And there's been a number of examples of that. When it's a bit shady and behind the back and I find out through social media or through contacts, that hurt a little bit. And I've had some conversations with this individual in particular since and cleared the air, certainly, let them know how I felt about the way that it was done. And I never ever will wish poor upon anybody, so would never do that. I hope that this person succeeds in whatever pathway they decided to sort of continue to go down. But definitely at the time, it was emotionally challenging. I did let it sort of absorb a lot of my energy for a period of time, but always made a vow that we'd never come out and slander anybody, and we don't publicly say anything poor to anybody about it if people ask about the scenario, because there was certainly, I think it was evident at the time to say, well, this person was here and all of a sudden they're over here doing something pretty similar to what you're doing. I know at the time they probably tried to promote the fact that they were trying to work in a different realm, in a higher price point and work in this elite category, but I don't think that worked very well, and they've been on a slowly sliding scale to essentially offer almost the same price point of what we have at the moment. started to sort of delve into group classes and all that sort of stuff, and it starts to look very, very similar. But again, as I said, that's part and parcel of it. It's a compliment that there's people out there that really like what we're doing and would like to do something similar. But I think my advice for anybody out there who is maybe thinking of starting a business and is already working within a realm is just be open and honest. That saves a lot of hearsay. Adelaide is a very small place, so if you burn any bridges in any context, then that will impact very quickly. So yeah, I think just be honest with the people in your network, and even if maybe there's an initial emotional response, if I come to I'm working on a Bevo, and I come to Bevo and say, hey, look, I'm looking to do my own thing, and Bevo is a bit emotional about it. The emotion that you show in that instance will probably be only 50% of what you'll experience if I go and do this and Bevo finds out through Johnny down the road, or if he logs onto social media. Often we build things up much bigger in our minds than what actually occurs if you just face it head on.
Yeah,
and we are in a society now where it is a bit easier to hide behind a phone and send a text message and not rock up to something, or you can ghost people a little bit easier these days. I don't sound like a cranky old man at 32 years old, but just pick up the phone or have a face-to-face conversation with somebody, and it talks about credibility and before. So yeah, hopefully that delves into it a little bit more. But certainly, I really hope that anybody who's been within our network and budget. I will sort of deviate. I'm going to give you a great example. Another person who I'd love to shout out, Joey Wright. So Joey Wright obviously had a challenging time at the 36ers. Upon his completion, he came and signed up just for membership at PEAQ. You need to get into a bit of a better headspace. He obviously was copying a bit of a bashing in the media. He just sort of came through for therapy, really. So he came for 6 to 12 months, I think it was. Struck up a great relationship. We just saw him blossom, which was awesome, and we love Joey to death. He had no obligation to, because he wasn't even an employee of ours, just simply a paying member. But he gave me a phone call one day and said, Sean, I just wanted to let you know that PEAQ has been life-changing for me, and has helped me when I was in a really dark place. I just wanted to let you know that there's this place called Shoe HQ that's come up for sale, and I'm thinking about purchasing it. I think it'd be a really good complement to transition sports. But I do see, is it a bit of a conflict of interest, because it's got a bit of a gym in there. We'll probably do some S&C stuff, and we've got a basketball court. I said, Joey, do it, mate. I would love you to. We went down there. We went down to his opening. We still catch up for coffee.
That's brilliant.
He's a wonderful human being. He had no obligation to call me. But as a stark contrast, an example of, as I said before, I've got no issues if people want to.
But just contact you.
It's not
absolutely
hard.
Yeah.
So big shout out to Joey. I love Joey to death, and he's a wonderful man. He's a funny human being. And I think they're killing it out there.
Great.
And it's had absolutely no impact on our business at all. So, if you are out there and around the area, go see Joey at Shoe HQ, because he's a legend. I love him to death.
Here's another one I want to get for Legends of Bevo one day as well.
I'll flick him a message. He's a hard man to tie down because he's very busy and very in demand, but I'm sure we'll get him on for sure.
Yeah, it'd be a great chat for sure. So,
absolutely.
And I know exactly how you feel, Bakes. I got dumped by text message by a girl once. So.
Oh no, that's ruthless.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Sorry to hear, mate.
Yeah, there you go. So
I'm glad you can laugh about it now, anyway.
Exactly. So I know exactly what it's like. But just tell people face to face,
Absolutely.
like it's much easier. And it's a credit to you for the way you've just handled that situation, which a lot of people could come, and you would understand that as well. Like a lot of people would come out and publicly say the person that's done this to you, but it's a credit to you that you've done it so professionally, and that's why you're doing so well with PEAQ as well. So well done.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And let's get back to obviously we've already almost up the time. We've just been chatting for so long, and time just goes so fast. Your journey's so incredible. But where'd you sort of first get that strength and conditioning passion, Bakes? Where'd that come about? And just give us a bit of an understanding of your journey so far.
Yeah, I think just like most S&C professionals, I was just a failed athlete myself, mate. Played junior footy up until sort of playing as an overage under 18 for the Port Magpies. Trained up a little bit with the seniors, but I realised pretty quickly that I was a spud who was trying hard, as I've probably already mentioned in this podcast before. I thought I was going to be a PE teacher, so again, went to university to try to get the double degree in exercise science and teaching, but I didn't get the results I needed to. So I thought, I'll just do exercise science and I'll take on teaching at the end. And it was during that time I started to deviate away from playing. I had to do a subject in which we needed to acquire 140 hours of work experience, and I decided to do it with the guys at the Port Magpies. And it was during this time frame where the Power and the Magpies were starting to just amalgamate. So that's how old I am, mate. Yeah, I thought it would be a bit of a piss take. It'd be easy if I can just go do this with the fitness guys out there. But that really sparked a passion in me. So a shout out to Jamie and Pistol, who sort of took me under their wing to start off with, and Adrian Setri and Brett Johns. Those four guys really were the forefront of sparking my passion and really sort of just figuring out the reason why we were doing all this stuff. I'd always loved the pre-season running and lifting, but didn't think about why we were doing it. And it just snowballed from there. That led to an internship at the Crows. It led to opportunities at Woodville West Torrens. Then I guess I sort of refer to it as the springboard for my career really was when I got the head role at the West Adelaide Footy Club, and we won the premiership in 2015. It's funny, the Melbourne Footy Club today is actually training down at West Adelaide Footy Club, and Greg Stafford took me a little photo of our premiership photo on the wall, so that was nice. I just got a text while I was sitting here on the couch before from Big Staff, so just reminded him that we were the first league team to do it in 32 years, which is nice. And that really opened the doors for a lot of, and mate, I'm very cognizant that there's a multitude of components that have to come together for sporting success. It wasn't just that we were the fittest team or anything like that. We had to have skill and great coaching through Mark Micken, who's again is just a wonderful, wonderful human being. But there, I got a call from the Darren Lim Academy the week after we won the flag, and that offered me a job there. So travelled to India and worked over there for a little while. Sort of circled back around to that Port Adelaide job, that I talked about, where I just missed the crossover with Burjo, and it was sort of at the end of that stint there at the end of 2018 where I felt it was a bit of a crossroads. I felt like I'd done this massive apprenticeship, all these roles that I had, Port, Crows, West Adelaide, Darren Lim, and all that, were all pretty lowly paying. I was still doing private stuff on the side, so it was really at that point in time where I said, well, am I going to try to move overseas to acquire a role over there to really try to solidify myself in this industry, or do we take the private side of things more seriously? And we sat down and weighed up all our options and decided that opening PEAQ would be the best option. After really diving into that for 12 months intensively, it's then sort of come full circle again and opened up opportunities to go work with the Crows AFLW because a few of the girls were coming down, and I was introduced to some Australian lacrosse athletes, and that led to some further conversations. And then one day, Steph Talbot from the Lightning walked in saying that she wanted a better service. And it's just, it's been a bit of a domino effect from there, mate. So it's been a bit of a journey. And one thing I've learned, no matter how turbulent it's been, is that when one door closes, another one opens, and everything happens for a reason, mate. So it's been good fun.
I was going to ask you a couple of success stories, but you probably had so many with working with all those clubs as well, Bakes. But what's been perhaps a couple of your highlights, and maybe a couple of success stories if you want to share?
Yeah, I think definitely the flag in 2015 was a highlight. I love that, because it was such a turning point probably for my career. I think traveling to India a number of times, getting some awesome cultural experiences over there and working with some pretty reasonable level athletes. A couple of years ago, I was fortunate enough to head over to the States with the Australian lacrosse teams, and our female team won a bronze medal in Alabama for the World Games, which is incredible. We always find that America and Canada are worlds ahead of where we are, but we really pushed them, which was exciting. And then when we played against the UK for that bronze medal and got over the top of them, that was really special to see the overflow of emotions. I think that's why you do it, is not for your own ego, but just to see the joy that it brings, not only the players, but everybody in that sort of community as well. But even, I guess, special moments from a private perspective, we were involved in the first A1 premiership with the Port District Football Club 2 years ago. And that was the first one in 30 years as well. So the peninsula just overflowed. We played at Norwood Oval against PAC, and to see grown men crying. They've been involved in the club their whole lives and never been involved in a premiership, and blokes you just don't know coming and hugging you. And it was a pretty wild night on the peninsula that night. But it doesn't always have to be the top level, but there's been some really awesome experiences. And I think even some more subtle things as well, just seeing people achieve things in a physical capacity perspective that they've never done before. You know, seeing a mum deadlift a certain amount of weight or achieve a triathlon, you know, coming back from, having kids. And I touched on it actually just off the record before, but and I'm not just saying this to pump her tires up, but something that's been super special to see, and something that I rate as highly as anything else is seeing my wife come back and play the highest level of netball that she has, you know, post 2 kids. So she just made the Premier League squad for the Metro Jets Netball Club. So I can't wait to see her take the court in a couple of weeks. You know, there's something she's busted her guts for, and she deserves every second of it. You know, seeing her run out is going to be, you know, there's going to be just as much pride in that too. Even though I'll be juggling a couple of crazy children under the age of 5, mate, I'm sure we'll probably be welling up. I just, now I've had kids, I just cry all the time, to be honest with you. I don't know, I'm a big softie, but yeah, I can't wait to see her play. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing, and all the best to her, and what a story as well.
Yeah.
Almost like that Jess Trengove story, isn't it? Having a couple of kids and then winning, obviously, gold in the Commonwealth Games a couple of years ago. So
yeah, well, which Jamie hasn't won gold yet, but yeah, hopefully she plays finals. That'd be nice.
Yeah, but similar story that, like, you know, you can still come back from a couple of kids and do amazing things. So,
absolutely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Credit to her. No, all the best. Hey, Bakes, thanks so much again for coming on Sports Legends of Bevo, mate. It's been amazing to have you on, and again, well done on those the Gym of the Year award, and also that collaboration with Burjo and staff. And I'm sure things are going to keep on going up and up for you going forward as well.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate the opportunity, and look forward to our next one, mate.